Buckle up, my girls, because today we are going to be talking about the dirty, dirty liars and cheaters in the world. If you have ever been cheated on in a relationship or lied to within your friendships or your family, or you have been deceived in any kind of way, this video is not about them. It is not about the ones who have hurt you. This video is about what that leaves and what happens after the betrayal, because actually the hardest part is navigating the wounding that leaves. It isn't always the betrayal itself that's the most difficult. It feels it in the moment and it can emotionally deplete and exhaust you, but it's what comes after that and how we react to it afterwards that's important. It's about trying to heal. It's about trying to trust again. And we do this so we can actually attract secure relationships, so we can be secure in ourselves without being constantly in fight or flight or looking for issues and problems. Because the thing is, once you've been deceived and betrayed, you start to question everything, right? You might find that you're someone that goes through phones, or you think that somebody has an ulterior motive all the time. You'll overthink their behaviors or the things that they say or the things that they do, constantly questioning yourself or constantly questioning other people. And this is where you end up getting yourself so worked up and trying to find answers that may not even be there. Now, this is where we have to ask ourselves, is this our intuition, right? Is this our intuition telling us something is up, something is wrong, something you need to be aware of? Or is it your past wounding? Is it your past wounds that are triggering you right now? Are they coming up to the surface because they are ready to be healed? And that's what I want to cover today in this video. We're going to be going over 4 different sections, and hopefully by the end of it, you could overcome some of the things you've already been through. So I want to help you to tell the difference, right, between your wounding and your intuition, and how we overcome the past situations that have already happened, how we get through them so we don't carry all these trust issues with us into our next friendships and relationships, and we can actually have secure friendships and relationships. So first of all, I want to talk about what betrayal does to your nervous system. So betrayal will change your nervous system. So your brain is then constantly looking for danger everywhere. So say somebody has hurt you, they have deceived you, they've completely blindsided you. And you know, when this happens, sometimes we can be so shocked to our core that our nervous system is like, what the hell is going on? This person has lied to me. And then we start thinking back on past situations. When did the lies start? How did that happen? And we realize how blindsided we've been and how betrayed we've been. And that hurt and that pain starts to appear in the body. Now, when that hurt and pain appears in the body, you either release it or you store it. Now, 9 times out of 10, the body and the mind somewhere will store it, right? Because it doesn't want that to happen again, because it knows that you're hurt. So the brain goes, hang on a minute, let's analyze what's happened. And it stores all this information like a computer system. And it's like, we don't want this pain again. So anytime anything similar occurs, your mind and your body goes, oh, danger. This is danger. We felt this somewhere before. And this could be, you know, a tiny change in someone's behavior. Somebody could be doing something so innocently, but because it mirrors a slight amount of past deceit, or that your brain thinks that it might be deceit, it strikes up this feeling in the nervous system of fight or flight. I need to find the answers. I need to know now because I need to know whether I'm in danger. And your whole body will have this reaction of this need to know this information. I need to know if I'm in danger. I need to know what's happening. And so your brain will start to look for it everywhere because it doesn't want that to happen again. So it will start to nitpick at little things. It will start to pinpoint on little things all the time. And this is because you haven't healed the past situation. You haven't released that trauma within the body. You haven't released that pain that betrayal once caused. So now, in order to stop you from getting hurt again, it's constantly trying to find what could be danger, when actually there might not be any danger there at all. The brain, right, will become alert to tiny changes. And one thing I do want to touch on that I've been speaking about a lot recently in my readings is what you find in toxic relationships is we're constantly ending up being in survival. So you may find that your communication goes into survival mode. If you know that you are going to say something in a certain way, right, and your partner or friend that is toxic is going to react in a way that's either going to make you feel fearful or scared or cause issues or cause arguments, you end up analysing yourself before you speak. You end up walking on eggshells. You end up going to yourself, okay, so how can I navigate this conversation that I need to have with this person? And you start to think in your head all these things that you could say, right? Rather than being able to be safe enough to be vulnerable and just speak and say the things that you need to and overcoming them together. And what you'll find in these relationships is that people will walk on eggshells for so long and they will have to analyze the things that they do and the things that they say, oh, I better not do that because it might upset them. I better not say it in that way because it might upset them. That you end up taking that with you into your next relationships, friendships, family connections. You're constantly analysing and thinking, what can I do to prevent a danger? The same thing happens when there's been deceit. You're constantly analysing, how can I prevent the danger and the pain and the hurt from occurring again? And so what you may find is that if you're sat there and you're now out of this toxic relationship, right, and you're trying to find new connections and you're trying to build a healthier, more trusting relationship, and you find that you are saying to yourself, oh, I need to have a conversation with this person and I'm going to say this, or how can I word it in that way? That's not a safe and healthy relationship. You should be able to speak freely, and you may be carrying a wound from the past into this new relationship. You should be able to be vulnerable enough to speak. Now, I understand that is not always the case. And if you are still in a relationship where you feel like you cannot fully speak your truth, then you really need to analyze if this is the right place for you to be in, because you cannot heal in the place that you have been hurt. Sometimes we have to cut our losses and move forward. Now, I'm not saying that you can't build trust again. I'm not saying that you can't start to rebuild and heal together. That absolutely can happen, but it takes both parties. Both people have to really do the inner work, and we are going to go in a little bit later of why people lie and why people cheat. Both parties need to really go into deep reflection. It can't just be you in order to make a relationship, a friendship, or a connection work. Now, your nervous system, like I say, is constantly trying to protect itself, so it's analysing what's going to happen next all the time. And now this isn't off of weakness. You're not weak if you do this. You are just in survival. You are trying to survive the situation that you're in. Now, if you are out of that friendship, relationship where it is no longer toxic, and you are still trying to protect yourself when nothing is even happening, this is going to constantly put you into survival mode. And this is how it changes your nervous system. So we need to bring ourselves back down to earth, and we need to work on regulating our nervous system. There are so many different tools and techniques that you can do, and that you can do these daily to start to calm the nervous system down, from breath work. EFT is probably my favorite. This is something you can do for 5 minutes. Meditation, anything holistic based that calms the nervous system can get you on that road to healing your trust issues and making your nervous system feel safe again. Now we're going to go into number 2, which is trauma versus intuition. Now with this, what we find is that once you've moved away from the situation, or you may even still be in it, you're constantly trying to find answers. And we have to try and decipher which is your intuition telling you something isn't quite right here, and we need to find answers, or we need to move on, something isn't right. Or is it your trauma and your wounding screaming at you that it is ready to be healed and it is ready to be released? Trauma is loud. Trauma is impulsive, it is quick, it is erratic, it's I've got to look through the phone really quickly while they've gone to the bathroom, I've got to do this, I've got to ask so-and-so, I've got to message this person, I've got to find out all it's very quick and very, very impulsive. It's fear-based, right? The other side of that is your intuition. The intuition is calm, but it's constant. It doesn't go up and down in waves. It's this constant, like, something isn't quite right here. Now, what we have to remind ourselves is if something is going to happen, it is going to happen. No amount of your worrying, of your anxiousness, of your trying to find answers is going to make a difference of what is going to happen. What we have to remember is that it's not about what happens or what other people do. It's about how we are able to handle those situations. Now, like I say, your intuition is more calm, it is more steady, and it is more clear. Whereas your trauma, it wants proof and it wants proof now. Your intuition can know something without panic, whereas your trauma feels very, very panicked. Now, when this comes to the surface, this trauma, this impulse, this panic, we have to go back to number one. We have to go back to that reminder of betrayal changes your nervous system. So your nervous system is being spiked right now. And the way that you tell the difference between intuition and trauma is you calm the nervous system. You take a moment. And if it's really hard to do so, it's probably your trauma. If it's a little bit easier, it's more than likely your intuition, right? It's a little bit easier to go, okay, yeah, we're just going to take each day as it comes. It's probably your intuition. But if you're like, oh, I've got all this, I need to know the information, it's probably your trauma. Not every uncomfortable feeling and situation is intuition. Sometimes yesterday's pain is wearing today's clothes. Your intuition will know without all of that panic. And so when we bring our nervous system back to a regulated state, then we're able to tell the difference. And if it keeps tapping at you on the shoulder, maybe it's time to evaluate what's going on. But that doesn't mean you have to try and search and search and search and search for information and answers. Sometimes we just have to go, you know, I trust myself and I trust that this is no longer right for me for whatever reason. Now, I want to go into number 3, which is why people deceive, why people cheat, why people do things in order to hurt others. A lot of the time, people aren't doing it because they really want to hurt someone. Sometimes it can be a revenge thing, but a lot of the time it is their own deep wounding. They are reacting from a place of their own trauma. Not all the time, every situation and circumstance is obviously different. But what we have to remember is that when someone deceits us, it is not a measure of your worth. You get to decide what your worth is. You get to decide what your boundaries are and what you are willing to accept and not accept. And when you constantly allow someone to treat you in a negative way, over and over and over and over again, what you're doing is you are neglecting your own needs and your own self. And that's when we need to stop looking at them, pointing the finger at them and saying they need to heal and stop lying, and actually look within ourselves and go, why am I still accepting and allowing this behavior in my life? Now, it can be two sides of a coin, right? You can have one side where you are dealing with people that are really deceitful, or there can be the other side where it's like, I'm not dealing with people that are deceitful, but I just don't trust anyone anymore. And this is because of past situations. The reason a lot of people actually lie, or what I have known to be the reason of why a lot of people lie, it's a protection mechanism. It usually, not all the time, but it usually stems back to when they were a child, that if they admitted that they had done something very, very small or very simple, or they had done something that maybe their parents didn't like, or it maybe getting, you know, grades weren't so high, if they hid those things from their parents, they wouldn't get told off. You find that sometimes people who lie usually have very, very strict parents, or parents that would put a lot of pressure on their children to be high achievers. This isn't always the case, obviously, but I do find that sometimes, and this happens not just with men, with women, but this can happen with men in relationships where they feel that they can't fully express themselves because they don't want to upset the other person. And this is where the lies start, and their lies will start small and then they'll grow bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And this is when people have to really look at themselves and go, actually, if I was just honest in the first place, it would be easier to navigate this situation. And just because somebody is upset about something, it does not mean I've done something wrong, because sometimes people can lie about things that are really, really small just out of protection, right? But over time, that will build up, and they'll be like, oh, it's safer to lie. It's safer to not tell the truth. That then becomes a limiting belief. That then becomes a belief in their mind that they believe to be true. And this then leaks out in other areas of their life. And you might be watching this and realizing, actually, that's me. There is absolutely no judgment here. But what there is self-reflection. We have to look at ourselves and say, okay, where am I not being completely true to myself or to others, and where can I improve? Because when we constantly look at other people and why they have done what they have done, we end up getting sucked into, oh, this person done this because of this, because of that. It doesn't matter the reasons. That's for them to deal with. You are to deal with yourself and why you are going to people like this. Sometimes, these things can happen and we cut them off and we move forward, right? But we have to look at ourselves and the things that it has left us with. Sometimes people do these things just out of pure emotional immaturity. And other times it will be through insecurity. They don't feel secure enough in themselves. So they need validation constantly, which is usually why people cheat. They feel as if that they need that validation subconsciously. You can also find, like I said before at the beginning, that when we're in toxic relationships, we find that it's really difficult to speak honestly and freely. And what you might find is that you're analysing before you say anything all the time, right? This can actually lead to lying, because people will avoid difficult conversations. That's not being completely transparent, right? So you may find that people are not necessarily lying, or they could be hiding things because they're so scared of what somebody is going to do next. Now, what we have to remember is someone else's inability to honor the relationship is not evidence that you were not enough. You are enough, and you choose what you do next and how you react to situations next. And that's why we constantly go back to the nervous system regulation. We constantly go back to, is this my trauma speaking, or is this my intuition speaking? And that's how eventually we end up being in alignment with people that are more like us and people that aren't going to deceive us. But look, life is always going to happen. No amount of healing that you do, no amount of working on yourself is going to change other people. See people for who they are, realize your own worth and what you deserve, and be so strong in yourself and knowing in your own self-worth that you know that you will be okay regardless of what other people do, because you are yourself. You are whole in yourself. You are strong in yourself. You know who you are purely and fully and authentically. You know you enough to know that you are going to be okay, and you are going to be able to move on regardless of what somebody else's does. You cannot control what other people do, so stop trying to. Which brings me to number 4, how to actually heal, right? How to heal after betrayal, after lies, after cheating. So obviously betrayal is going to hurt regardless of the reason, right? We spoke about the reasons in the past, and it's always going to hurt. And the more you dig and the more you try and search for things, the more you are going to hurt yourself. What we have to do is we have to heal it. We have to release it. The first part of this is learning to trust yourself before expecting to trust someone else. Do you fully trust you? And I don't mean in the lies and the cheats kind of way. I mean, when you say you're going to do something, do you show up for yourself? Do you support yourself? Are you constantly pouring into other people and not giving yourself enough time, enough energy, and enough effort for what you need to feel whole and to feel complete within you? right? Because a lot of the time we expect other people to show up for us, to be there for us, to support us, but you're not actually doing that for yourself. So that's one thing I want you to look at. Where are you making promises to yourself and you're not keeping them? We're going to start to really keep our own promises. If we say we're going to go to the gym, we're going to go to the gym. If we say we're going to eat healthy, we're going to eat healthy. Now, I'm not saying you have to be completely strict and harsh to yourself, but are you speaking kind to you? Are you being nice to you? Are you telling yourself, do you know what? I've got this. I'm beautiful. I'm amazing. And I can move forward with my life. Or are you beating yourself up and blaming yourself constantly? Right? In order to build trust with another, we have to build trust within ourselves. Now, another one that I've spoken about before is, and how we heal, is regulating the nervous system. This is something that is constant because we often go into fight or flight. The nervous system will often get thrown off, especially on the beginning of the healing journey. There are so many different tools. You can check out my website as well, where you'll see a lot of different things. Release and Reframe is my main one. There is a free version on there which can help you to regulate your nervous system. Setting healthy boundaries instead of trying to control things. So what you may find is, if you have trust issues or you've struggled with something in the past, you may be trying to control things. What social media someone can go on, what things people can do, how people talk to you. No, we have to have boundaries and stick to those boundaries instead of telling people what to do and how to respect you. We see how they are and we go, actually, their respect and the way they treat me is not in alignment to what I want. We have to be prepared to move forward. You have to be prepared to walk away from certain situations, but you also have to be prepared to look within yourself and go, actually, is this really a big deal, or is my trauma making it a really big deal? We have to accept that no amount of checking phones, analysing messages, analysing behaviour can guarantee that you won't be hurt, right? You keep searching for these things because you're searching and searching, and 9 times out of 10, you're always going to find something that's going to piss you off because you're trying to. And it could be something very, very minimal, but you're trying to find something. And that's one thing that the mind loves to do. It loves proof. So it will look for everything it can, and it will make a mountain out of a molehill in order to prove yourself right. We have to stop doing that. Stop searching and trust that what is meant for you will be for you, and what isn't will be removed. It's also about choosing relationships and friendships where trust is built over time. Especially now, you find that there's a lot of very high and low relationships. You get these high highs and these low lows, and these are very, very toxic relationships. Actually, the most healthy ones are the ones that are steady, the ones that are slow, and that over time you can show that person that you're there to support them, and they can show you that they're there to support you. It's about building. It's not about expecting all the time and thinking, okay, this is what I want, this is how it's going to be, and being so strict in your moment. Yes, we can be strict within our boundaries and what we expect and what we don't expect within a relationship, but then we have to be like, okay, this isn't what I want, I'm going to move forward from it. But also it's about knowing that trust is built, and trust is built over time. So I'm not saying you have to give people the benefit of the doubt, but we have to look at, where are we heavily reacting because of our own previous wounding, and where can we actually grow and discuss and have conversations in a vulnerable way without walking on eggshells with someone. The more conversations you have, the more the trust is built. Healing isn't becoming someone that never gets hurt again. Healing is becoming so secure within yourself that you know you'll be okay even if you do get hurt, even if someone does deceive you. If this resonated with you, I'd love to know your biggest takeaway in the comments, what you learned from this, if it has helped you in any way, and share your knowledge too to help other people. And if you are on your own healing journey, then take a look at my energy insight sessions. They have been designed specifically to help you understand your own patterns, the ones that keep you stuck. And this has been designed so that you can move forward. You can move forward with clarity and self-trust and that confidence and knowing within yourself. I would love it if you could subscribe, and I will see you all again tomorrow.